I stand here amidst the echoes of Sheffield's past, a city that has forged not just steel, but its very soul. One might say that Sheffield's story is etched in every brick and beam, a living monument to human ingenuity and resilience. And yet, it's more than that. It's a tale of fire and water, of hammers and anvils, of sweat and dreams. A story that begins in the mists of the Iron Age and continues to unfold before our very eyes. In the grand sweep of history, Sheffield's ascent from a humble settlement to the Steel City is nothing short of remarkable. The landscape itself seemed to conspire in its favor. The rushing waters of the Don and Rivullin, the abundant coal seams, the very earth crying out to be shaped and molded, and shape it they did. By the 14th century, Sheffield's reputation for fine cutlery had spread so far that even Chaucer, that keen-eyed observer of medieval life, saw fit to mention it in his Canterbury Tales. But let us not forget, that it was not just nature's bounty that elevated Sheffield. It was the ingenuity of its people. The discovery of Crucible Steel by Benjamin Huntsman in the 1740s. Now that was a moment of true alchemy. Steel of unparalleled quality, harder and purer than anything the world had seen. One might say it was the moment Sheffield truly began to shape its destiny. As the 19th century dawned, Sheffield's skyline transformed. Smokestacks pierced the sky, factories hummed with life, and the city's steel found its way into ships, railways, and the very bones of the world's great cities. And yet, with this industrial might came a price. The workers, the lifeblood of Sheffield, toiled in conditions we can scarcely imagine today. But from this crucible of hardship emerged something remarkable. A spirit of solidarity that would define the city for generations to come. The trade unions, born in the heat and dust of Sheffield's factories, became a force to be reckoned with, fighting for rights, for dignity, for a fair day's pay. One might argue that it was here, in the struggle between capital and labor, that Sheffield's true character was forged. And when war came, as it did with such devastating force in 1940, it was this spirit of unity that saw the city through its darkest hours. As the fires of industry began to cool in the latter half of the 20th century, Sheffield faced perhaps its greatest challenge. The steel that had been its lifeblood for so long was no longer enough, and yet, true to form, the city refused to fade into obscurity. Instead, it reinvented itself. The University of Sheffield and Sheffield Hallam University became beacons of learning and innovation. The arts, once perhaps overshadowed by the clang of industry, burst forth in the explosion of creativity. And let us not forget the music. From the raw energy of pulp to the poetic musings of Arctic monkeys, Sheffield's soundtrack became the anthem of a generation. But perhaps most remarkably, this city of fire and steel has become a paragon of green urban living. More trees per person than any other European city, the nearby Peak District offering nature in all its majesty. One might say that Sheffield has achieved the impossible, honoring its industrial past while forging a sustainable future. And so, dear viewer, we come to the end of our journey through Sheffield's remarkable history. But let us not forget that this is a story without end. For as long as there are dreamers and doers, makers and shakers in this proud northern city, Sheffield will continue to shape its destiny. From steel to stories, from factories to festivals, it stands as a beacon of the indomitable human spirit. And I, for one, cannot wait to see what the next chapter holds.